Previously on Idiots Go Running.
My bag has broken.
And I'm outstanding.
We got McDonald's with sprinkles of midgies.
And I'm fantastic.
It's nighttime and we're at the big wind farm.
And I'm outstanding.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls still high from completing their 108-mile ultramarathon. Please welcome Colin Goodman.
He's the runner that likes to run.
And Andrew Goodman.
He's the one who eats jelly!
If these two knuckleheads can achieve such a feat, then there's hope for all of us. This is Idiots Go Running, Season 2, Episode 14. Our 108-mile ultramarathon, Part 2.
Colin, how are you feeling tonight?
Absolutely fantastic, Andrew. How are you feeling?
I am feeling outstanding. This could go on, folks, for quite some time. We released the first episode, Colin. We're recording this on Thursday night, just, 4 days from Sunday when the event ended?
Yeah, it feels like a lifetime, Andrew. It feels like an absolute lifetime away.
It's really strange. Looking back, it's hard to explain. It is. It does feel like a long time ago, and it nearly doesn't feel real, Colin. But we did. We did it, and we've got the photos and the audio to prove it. So, Colin, in the last episode, we left it on a bit of a cliffhanger. We were on top of the mountain at the wind farms, and it was dark. There was one point I failed a dimension on Tuesday night. That is when you're doing these events. Sometimes you see people and you get walking with them or running with them, and you maybe do that for a short time, and then you either take off a little or they take off a little, and that's all good. But when it came to nighttime, you actually had, what did you have in your bag you had to put on, Colin?
I had a torch, a head torch.
That was in your head, Colin. Before we put the head torch on, there was something else we put on.
The red light on the back of our bag, the flashy light. We seen a few people ahead of us, and we seen them fitting flashy lights, and I thought, we should put our flashy lights on.
We did. We decided there's flashy red lights in the distance, so I suppose we should do that too. So we put ours on, but we didn't put the head torches on for a while.
No.
And when it was quite fun because we were kind of, not that we were meaning to, but we're getting closer and closer and closer and closer to these red lights. And you know what, Colin? That was a game-changing moment for us, because when we caught up to them, they were at the wind farm. So Colin, we put our head torches on, and then what was next?
Andrew, it was just a black abyss ahead of us, and a bog, a green field and a bog. And we had actually chatted to someone previously on the run, and they said, yeah, your GPX just takes you in all types of directions, and it's not really, you shouldn't really go by your GPX. And this is where the recce runs come in handy, Andrew.
Oh, now you remind me of something, because on our first aid station, we were speaking to a volunteer, and we said this to the volunteer, and she said, you haven't went in any of the recce runs. And we were like, no, we haven't. She goes, do you know what you're coming up against? I was like, no. She goes,
no. This
is the most technical part of the whole course. Do you have no idea what's ahead of you? And we were like, no, we'll just kind of figure it out when we get there. And she did. You remember the look she gave us?
She gave us a look, but she called a friend over, and she actually said, do you not remember? She said, these guys didn't go on the recce runs, and they've never been at the bogs. And I was that is when a moment of doubt settled into my mind, Andrew, and I thought, well, let's just get going and let's see how we get on.
She gave us a look, and it was a look of, these guys are complete idiots, and it wasn't the friendly banter idiots. People were called us. This is like user muppets, user tools, user complete idiots.
Pick any of the above, Andrew, and that's what we were.
So we were there in the bog, and Colin, I'm kind of thinking to myself, do you think our international listeners, do they know what a bog is? Is this common knowledge of what a bog is? We really should have asked Mac Nags before we started recording this to see if he knew what a bog was.
Well, let's explain a bog, Andrew. Let's explain what this bog was. So a bog is like a field, but imagine that field being wet and muddy, and then instead of it being flat, imagine it just being lumps from everywhere. Imagine thistles growing in the field and plants and weeds and everything. And nobody really goes in these bogs. This field, it's literally just a muddy, wet, bumpy, like we're talking bumps up from your feet up to your knees, and trying to navigate your way through this bog. There is no path, so you do not have a path. You have one side of the bog to the other side of the bog, and it works when you can see the other side of the bog. But Andrew, we can only see 6 foot ahead of us. Does that make sense?
It does, and every time you stepped, it was squelch, and then another step, squelch, or squish, squelchy, squish, squishy, squishy, squelch, squelch.
Sounds like the bear hunt, Andrew. Sounds like the bear hunt.
Here, that bear hunt, I'm telling you, one of the greatest ever ultramarathon books ever written. We're going on a bear hunt for this particular, Colin, it comes all back, as a friend of the show, Dean Kernazes, would say, you know. So now there is sticks in this bog, which would get kind of mini signposts. What would you call the sticks? The sticks have arrows on it, but trying to find where these sticks would be an absolute nightmare. And Colin, we just said to the people in front of us, do you mind if we just follow you? And they were very, very kind and said yes.
So we had caught up to the people in front of us, Andrew, and we had sensed that this was a bit of a technical, tricky route. If you don't know where you're going, you can waste a lot of time in these bogs. I'm not saying you're going to die or fall off a cliff. What I'm saying is you will waste time. So we knew what was kind of coming up ahead of us, and you and me made a positive effort to catch the people and fall in behind them, because we hoped they knew where they were going. And it turns out they had an idea. They had an idea, Andrew, definitely.
I had an exceptional idea, Colin, that went straight through the bog, and it lasted a fair time, didn't it? Like, it wasn't just 5 or 10 minutes. It was a fairly decent time.
You're talking our pace would have went down to easy 20, 25 minute miles, Andrew. It was slow.
25 minutes is very slow, Colin. I don't think it went down that slow, but certainly 20
sure?
minutes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. We still kept moving. Like, it was quite long. And
at one point was stopped, and we looked somewhere, and then was stopped, and we looked the other way, and then it was up. Then you had to go down the other side of the slopey bog, and the phrase going through the bog was the person at the front. I think there was 4 people ahead of us, and the person at the front would have shouted, "Hole." Then it would have went to the next person, "Hole." Then it would have went to the next person.
There was like nearly wee rivers running through this bog, so you really had to be careful. You didn't like lose your foot or step down the big hole and then like be gone forever or something. I don't know what's.
Yeah, they were deep. Some of the holes were deep, and then you got someone in the head and you knew it was coming up, and it was like, that's a deep hole, and then it was like deep hole, and then it passed its way.
And then, Colin, we got to the end of it, and it was glorious. We got to the end of it, and there was a real road, and there was a car there, said if you needed water or anything, and it was great. And we just walked by that. We were following the people. We walked by that car, and then they turned into a field. And I was like, well, I say a field, it was a bog. I said, well, where are we going now? We'll have to go through another bog.
This was an incliney bog, Andrew. This was your treadmill. This was the bog that you'd been training for in the treadmill.
This is where my training came into its own. The only thing it was missing was wet and squishiness, my treadmill. But everything else, this is what I was training for, folks.
Yeah, and it was just, Andrew, it just seemed to, I think it was only a handful of miles, maybe. Would we say 2-3 miles?
No idea.
I think
no idea. And this is night now. You must be talking midnight now, Colin, by the time we're in around this location.
I think in our last podcast we were talking it was 22:11. By the time we got through the first field of bog, you're talking a good half an hour to an hour. So yeah, you're talking, this is near midnight, Andrew. Definitely the second part of the bog.
Yeah, and then this bog took us to the side of a mountain or on a mountain or something. Then we had to go down, across the mountain and then down the mountain. And
it was slippy going down, Andrew. It was slippy.
Very slippy, Colin.
We seen another person came across the way, joined in from another area somewhere, Andrew. And,
yeah, I don't know where they came from. So there was a good group of us now.
People just appeared. I think 2-3 people appeared, and then there was a good group of us, and we got down to the bottom of that one, and then we were near in a dryish up river, Andrew, bank, weren't we? And then it took us out onto a path.
A glorious path, which wasn't squishy with rocks that you could walk down. We got to the bottom of that path, and there was cars there. There was teams waiting for people. There was a van, and one guy just got into the van and just sat in a chair, and people took off his shoes and socks and got them dried. There was another guy, and he did something similar. And the kindness of people, because one of the guys, I think it was a guy's dad, came and he said, "Do you want any juice, guys? Just want any water? Would you like a banana?" And I said, "I'd love a banana." I got a banana. Colin, just the people on this event were so kind to us. Again, we didn't know them, they didn't know us. We were part of their team, but they were looking out for us too, and it was just wonderful, Colin.
It was, and we had finished, like, we're only talking a couple of miles here. We had finished in bogs, then we were sitting down at the end. Everybody else was sitting down, and they had their crews with them, and you and me kind of sat beside each other, just to gather ourselves, because it was tough. The bog was tough. The
bog was tough. We needed 5 minutes just to sit down, just to gather ourselves, just to settle ourselves. And then someone said, "You see up there, see all those red lights and that mountain way in the distance? That's where we're going next." And you see, once we get down there, it's a really steep incline into the next aid station, which is in a place called Dungiven. And I was like, those red lights on that mountain looked pretty far away. And Colin, it was pretty far away.
It was. And then we started walking, and it was after this bog, Andrew, where I think it was probably one of my most challenging parts of the run, I would have said, because I started to get cold, Andrew. That night was freezing. Like, I mean, I had layers on, I had gloves on, I had this, actually, as a last minute, bought this hat that was like a sail, like a, you know, if you're out kayaking. So it's a waterproof, warm hat, and got my hat on. But Andrew, I was freezing that night, and I kept on going, I'm just freezing.
And you know what, Colin? I was cold too. I was starting to get quite cold, and we did break into a bit of a run for a while. Remember that? We were back on the 7 minutes run and 3 minutes walking for a short time till we got to the bottom of this other mountain. And the bottom of this other mountain, it was a forest. So it was a forest all the way up to the top. And Colin, do you remember this forest? Because I do.
Do you remember that forest, Andrew? It was, so we got back there 7 minutes running, and I think that was to warm us up. I think we were chatting, I was going, Andrew, let's get some heat back into our bodies. And like, at this stage, people were passing us, we were passing people, then the same people that passed us, we were passing them. So it was really, this whole run, you find, if anyone ever does long distance ultras and people take off in the beginning, like, you just see each other constantly, you know, back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. It's just the way it works.
And then sometimes, Colin, you're not seeing people for hours and hours and hours, and then they'll reappear either behind you or in front of you, and it's some banter.
It is. It's like seeing an old friend who you haven't seen for a long time, isn't it really? But that forest, Andrew, we came round the bottom and we went into that forest, and we were by ourselves most of this forest.
The whole time, because we'd see lights behind us. Lights were behind us from the head torches, but Colin, it went on and on and on. I don't know if we talked at all. We just kept going. It just kept going on and on and on and on and on. And, well, that's what I mean. On and up.
You're just saying on as if the force was on. This was
no, it wasn't flat. I mean, you're right, Colin, to point that out. I kept on saying on, but it was like, it was up. It was constantly. It was in an incline again. This is treadmill. This is treadmill training. The only thing it was missing was YouTube. I missed my YouTube, Colin. If I'm going to do this for hours on end, I need to watch some kind of YouTube. There was no signal, Colin. There was no signal. I was going really high and was going on forever. And sometimes at night, when I close my eyes, I still see this hill.
But the funny thing about this hill was every time we were going and it got to a place where there's a slight wee bend or slight return, you were like, is that a clearing, Colin? And I'm like, no, it just seems to be going on or up, whatever way you want to put it. And then we got the next, Colin, that's a clearing. And we're still going on through the clearing, on straight, on up.
And then I start to shut up, because like I thought everything was a clearing, and it wasn't. So I just stopped saying it because I knew it wasn't.
Yeah.
But eventually, Colin, we made it to the top.
And we got to this clearing, and then you and me stopped. And we looked around, and Andrew, There was nowhere to go. It was completely closed in.
Didn't have a clue where to go. So the head torches that were behind us, they caught up with us, and they.
Granted, we were halfway through the bush.
Yeah, well, we said, is this the right way? And they said it is. And we went through the bush. We had to go over a river, jump over a river, or a stream really, rather than river. And then guess where we were, Colin? In another bog. In another bog. And the funny thing before this, up until now, our trainers were clean, our trainers were dry, and we just at the wind farm, we actually looked at each other and said, you know what? I don't think we're going to change our trainers in the next drop bag. I think our same shoes are going to do us the whole way to the finish line. Ha, yes, fools. Fools. Fools.
I was thinking the same, that we are not going to need another pair of trainers, but at this stage, our feet were soaking. And Andrew, the positive thing, there's always a silver lining. It was dry. It was cold. It was freezing. There wasn't much wind, but it was dry. At least it was dry.
Yep. And now we were on top of the mountain. We were out in the open. The people that had caught up with us, they kind of took off a wee bit. Maybe they kind of went on ahead, and we were just going at our pace. We were quite cold. And then it came to the bit that we had to go down this mountain, and it was on a main road. Was it? It was a main road, or fairly main road.
Was it not before that my head torch gave up?
Oh my goodness, you muppet. Yes. At one stage you go, I think my head torch is going to give up here. You start playing about with the buttons, remember? Like you kept flicking the buttons, and I said, Colin, what are you doing? You're just hitting the on off button and making it blink and all this. Just leave it alone. It's going to waste the battery even more.
My torch, it was about, I think my torch was about 50 quid, and I thought, this is a decent head torch. And I noticed that Andrew's starting to get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. And I thought, this isn't full brightness. So every time I tried to turn up, it flashed, basically to indicate that I ain't going any higher. All my battery's nearly done here. Now, I did have a spare battery in my bag. I think you're just at that stage at night where you just go for the easy option, Andrew.
You're just trying to get through it. And I gave you my head torch. And off we went again. Then it broke or something, or the strap came off, and you had to try to put the strap back on.
The strap wasn't on, right?
No, and the guys who we were with, they kind of walked on, and that was grand. And we were trying to muck about with this head torch on top of a mountain. And it was cold, Colin. It was cold. It's not a time to muck about with a torch in fairness.
Imagine this. It's cold. The head torch was on my head, but it's got these two wee bits you put into it, and it goes in the top bit, and then it slides down into the bottom bit. But they had came out. So then you try to put it back on, right? You've got no light and your hands are like ice. So you can't actually, your fingers aren't working right. So you're trying to do this like technical stuff with your fingers, trying to slide things in, Andrew. It was an absolute disaster. We got it working. We got it on. And then I have to say, Andrew, you once slagged me off in a previous episode for having mitten gloves. Baby mitten gloves. I slid my mitten gloves back on, Andrew, as an extra layer. These mitten gloves were class.
Mittens came into their own the mittens came into it now, and you were laughing. And then, Colin, we start to go down this hill, and it was really, really, really steep. And maybe about a third of the way down, I got a phone call, Colin. This is 3 a.m. This is 3 a.m, and my mate Jeff gave me a phone call. And this wasn't the first time I spoke to Jeff. He phoned when we were in Port Rush on the beach. He phoned, I don't know where we were the second time. I think it was at the wind farm he phoned, Colin. And he said, guys, I'm going to phone you back in a few hours' time. And I'm like, Jeff, that's like in the middle of the night. And he goes, that's okay. I just want to see how you are. And that's something that we didn't talk in the last podcast, which was absolutely brilliant, Colin, because it was amazing. You see, to get those 3 video calls from Jeff, and his wife came into them too, just to see how we were, just to encourage us. And it was great just to have a bit of crack and a bit of banter. And Jeff actually lent me his torch, which was brilliant. It lasted, not like your £50 head torch or whatever. I got one for free, or lent one for free, and it was brilliant, and it lasted all night. And he lent me waterproof trousers.
Of course
He lent me, what else did he lend me, Jeff? There's one or two other things. My mate Davey would message me, and he would say, well, Andrew, I'm just seeing how you're getting on. Just so you know, I had a lie in today, and now me and my son's playing, and I think I might just put the feet up and watch some TV. And that might sound like he was teasing me, which he was, but it was just banter. And then I would send him a voice message.
Of course he was teasing Andrew. You're too nice. You're too nice. That might sound like he was taking the mick out of me. Andrew, he was literally
banter.
I was listening to these messages.
That's banter, Colin.
You call us a friend. With friends like that, Andrew, who needs enemies? You listening, Davey?
No.
I know you listen to podcasts. Not impressed. We're cold. We're tired. My head torch is broke. My bag's strapped together. I've spent hours with Andrew.
The motivator wasn't impressed, but me, I was impressed. I love a good laugh. I knew what he was up to.
The Winginator. The Winginator, Andrew.
The Winginator, is that what it was?
The moaning gator.
Well, Colin, let's face it, there's not a great difference. You know what I mean? I think people would connect those dots. So the Winginator. So you weren't impressed with Davey's messages. I was, and then I sent him a voice message, or a few voice messages back. And they probably said the same thing. Aye, Davey, still running here, or still walking here, and still out in the middle of nowhere, Davey. And thanks to Davey, because I lent 2 of his bags. So
of course you did. Of course you did.
I done quite well. I'm trying to get lend stuff from people all around the show.
But Andrew, you wouldn't take my bag.
Of course I wouldn't. Common sense, Colin. Common sense. These guys have quality stuff and quality gear, and I'm going to take that. I'm not going to take your cheap stuff that breaks. We needed that voice call from Jeff. He went to bed, he set his alarm for 3, got up just to speak to us. You have to admire that guy.
To be fair, Andrew, that is something special. To set your alarm and get out of bed for a phone call, he deserves a lot of merit. By the way, I'm joking,
at the end
Andrew,
of the day,
just
he's
so you know.
Us.
Just so you know, we're up a mountain. We've been on for hours, and you're congratulating him for setting an alarm and waking up. I'm sorry, Andrew. You need to get your ducks in a row, or whatever it may be.
Well, I said, Jeff, if you ever do this 108-mile run, I will do the same for you. Currently, there's no plans for him to do the 108-mile run, but you never know.
No, in all honesty, yes, Jeff, thank you very much for ringing us. I'm only joking. You know the way I am. And yes, it did pick us up. It did pick Andrew up.
You're going to say sorry to Davey too? You only joking to Davey too? Or was it just Jeff?
No, I'm not going to say sorry to Davey. He didn't ring us. He didn't set his alarm and ring us and wake us up. He went to bed and enjoyed his just time with his family. He sat and he drank tea and had a nice breakfast and everything. Well,
he sounds very sensible. But Colin, all those messages, you can hear it in our voices. There's a lot of banter going on, and that's what you need for something like this. See, going down that hill into Dungiven, we never thought we would get to this aid station. The hill went down and windy and down and windy and down windy, and then it just leveled off, and we just kept walking and walking. We were getting colder and colder and colder. Then we seen red lights ahead of us, and we're closing in the red lights, and then the red lights went left, and we were like, "This is it, Colin? This is it." And it was it. It was the aid station, Colin, the Dungiven aid station, the second aid station. And when you went into that aid station, what did you think?
I was see, the minute I turned left, it's funny this, Andrew, the minute I turned left to go down the road to that aid station, I stopped being cold. I think it just warmed up there and then I got to the aid station. I walked up a ramp on the right hand side, and you walked through these doors, and then you were just met with these angels. We'll call them angels, Andrew, because that's what they deserve to be called. What do you need? Here's a seat. Lie down. Do you need a blanket? Do you need pasta, soup? Do you want Coke, flat Coke, fizzy Coke? There's oranges, there's crisps. What do you need?
Porridge, there was even porridge, Colin.
There was porridge? I didn't get porridge.
I got porridge.
That's because they didn't have the plant-based milk. I asked for porridge and they said we don't have plant-based milk, but I'm not going to hold that against them because I had 2 things of pasta and 2 things of soup, I think. And
what time was this, Colin? This must have been 4 in the morning, 3:45, something like that, I think we're coming in at. And we got in there and I took my bag off and I said, Colin, I'm going to the toilet. And I went to the toilet, and I've got a toilet story for you, Colin. What other podcast gives you a toilet story?
You need a jingle. You need a jingle for this toilet story, Andrew.
No, we're not getting a jingle for the toilet. We haven't had a jingle yet, apart from the intros. We haven't had any of those jingle capers yet, Colin, this podcast.
What a jingle. We'll jump back. What a jingle, Andrew. Well done. I salute you.
So I went to the toilet, and it was a wee. Okay, I won't lie, Colin. It was a long wee. Okay, maybe 2 minutes passed, and I was still weeing. I thought, this is really funny. This is the longest I've ever went to the toilet in all my life without stopping. And then a minute after that, I was still going. And at this stage, it went from being
that's 3 minutes.
That's about 3 minutes. So it went from being quite funny to, or it felt like 3. Maybe it wasn't as long as that. I was like, I was starting to get a bit concerned. It was like, there's no end. Is every fluid in my body now coming out of it or something? I didn't know what on earth was going on. And then, Colin, it eventually stopped. And I don't know how long it took me to stop, but I felt great afterwards. Obviously, my bladder must have been completely full, because to be honest, I kind of could have went to the wind at the wind farm 3 hours ago.
Really?
So, but yeah, honest, I could have went, and with all the fluids and all I was drinking, my bladder must have been full. And I washed my hands. I took a step out of the toilet, expecting to be quite the queue because I was in there for so long. And then, Colin, it hit me.
What hit you, Andrew?
A feeling, Colin. A feeling I can't describe. I wouldn't say it was dizziness. I wouldn't say I was feeling faint. I was not having a panic attack. All I knew is I needed to lie down, and it wasn't tiredness. I felt like I needed to lie down, and I needed to lie down quick. And I went back to where you were, and I think I said, Colin, I don't know what's come over me. I've never felt this way before, but I need to lie down, and I need to lie down now. And I sat down, and one of the volunteers came over to me, and I said, there's something, I don't know what's going on, but I need to lie down. And she brought me her dry robe, or someone's dry robe, so I could lie down. And at that moment, that was the first moment where I thought, I might not make this. And I don't know why I might not make this. I couldn't explain. Still now, looking back, I can't explain the feeling I had. It was just, I had to lie down, and I think I said something to you, like, Colin, like, I don't know what's going on here, but like, I don't know if I'm going to, what did I say? Can you remember even?
You just came in and your eyes looked bloodshot and red, and you just were, how do you explain? Even you looked a little bit woozy, and you kind of were crouched down a wee bit. Then she brought you a dry robe. You didn't even get into the dry robe. You lay on top of it.
No, I just had to lie. I just had to lie down.
You didn't change your wet clothes. You didn't do anything. You were just.
I didn't call because I had to change of clothes, and I was really looking forward to change of clothes, because I came in. Like I said, fairly fresh. I would say I came in fairly fresh.
Oh, fine.
I physically felt good. I was cold. I wouldn't even say I was that hungry. Really, I need to go to the toilet, if I'm being honest. But I came in pretty good, and then something just took over me.
You got food, but you didn't eat it. You left it sitting on the chair. You left all your stuff sitting there. You left.
I couldn't eat it, and I didn't even have the energy to take my jacket off and to change my top.
You literally just made a beeline to lie down on the floor and thought, I'm going to lie down. But, this wasn't uncommon, Andrew. There was a guy who behind us was lying under chairs, our table. There was a guy on the side who had used 8 chairs, and he was using it as a bed.
They were sleeping, Colin. They were sleeping. They were having a wee doze, and they were tucked up with their teddy bear or something. Like, I wasn't looking to be tucked up with my teddy bear. I wasn't tired.
There was a guy in the corner that was just staring into space.
into the beyond.
Into the beyond. There was a guy who had his feet in a basin of water. A guy who was getting his feet out of a basin of water, and his feet were being tended to. And I was sitting there looking around me going, I just want some soup and pasta. And it was Andrew, it was like Wade came in from a war zone and people were falling to bits, and you were fine coming in, and it was just
100% fine.
And I kind of said, right, just look, we're in no rush, we're ahead of time. I said, we've got all the time to lie down and gather yourself. And you did do that. You did lie down.
I did.
You did get your dry robe, and you did lie on top of it. And I didn't know if you were going to sleep or not, but you may not have noticed while you were lying down, I got all your gear, tidied it all together, put it all together, and had it all sitting there ready for you to go. So you didn't have stuff messed about everywhere, because you kind of just left everything sitting there. Your food, I moved your food to the side and also didn't get knocked over, and you just sat there and or lay down.
And I must have been lying down for 15 minutes. And I appreciate that, Colin. I did not know that, because I won't lie, I closed my eyes, and when I opened my eyes, I didn't see you doing any of that work. What did I see, Colin? I seen you lying down in 4 chairs out for the count. That's what I seen.
So when you lay down, I thought, right. So I lay down. I had actually 3 chairs. So I was on 3 chairs and my feet were dangling off the edge, and I had my phone ahead of me, and I was just checking all my messages. So I had also got messages from work and people who had messaged on Instagram, and I was just going through all my messages, reading them, going, oh, isn't this right nice? And I got through all my messages, and then I kind of set my timer on my phone for 30 minutes, and I thought, I'll set it for 30 minutes. I'll put my head. And then the volunteer came across. She goes, what are you doing? Take another chair and lie down. And I was like, oh, okay. Now, at this stage, Andrew, I had changed all my clothes, and I was dry, and I was warm, and I was fed. I'd finished my pasta. I'd finished my soup. So I was feeling good. And then I just lay down, lay in the chairs, set my timer on my phone, put my phone in my chest. And I must have got about a 20-minute doze, Andrew, because my timer hadn't gone off.
Well, I think I was lying down for about 15 to 20 minutes. And I'll tell you what I was thinking about in those 15 and 20 minutes, Colin. The first thing that I thought was, I might not make it out of here. Or no, that sounds a bit dramatic. I'll make it out of here, but this might be the end of my race. This might be the end of my race. And I had never thought that before. Like, coming into this event, I told everyone, it's going to be a bit of crack, it's going to be a banter, it's a one-off, it's an adventure of a lifetime, I'm going to give it my best shot, we'll see how I get on. But privately, to you and Jenna, there's only one thing I was saying, Colin. I was saying, we're doing this. I'm 100% sure we're doing this. To other people, maybe even this podcast, you don't want to say you don't want to sound like you're full of it, but to you, to Jenna, to myself, I was like, we are doing this. There was no doubt in my mind we were doing this. And that was my whole thought process up until this moment. And at this moment, where I can't explain how I felt, I thought, it hit me, it just hit me, Colin, because I thought we might not do this. And I say we because we never talked about it, but if I had dropped out at that point, what would you have done? Oh,
I would have went on and left you. No, what are you joking? I wasn't leaving that aid station without you. I was dragging you out because...
No, but if I couldn't go on, what would you do? I think you would have dropped out. And if you had dropped out at a stage, I think I would have went with you, even if I could have went on. And that was heavy on my mind. And then the second thought, Colin, and I said to you this, and this is, I'm going to say something, and you're going to go, what the flip's he on? The second thought while lying down was, I'm not going to get my picture frame, Colin.
You're not going to get your picture frame.
And you know what? Between me dropping out, or between the thought of dropping out and between the thought of me not getting my picture frame,
explain the picture frame, Andrew.
I'm going to explain it. I'm teasing it, Colin. I'm teasing it. But
it's a picture frame. It's a flipping picture frame. You don't tease a prick.
No, you do, Colin. On this, other people don't, but we do. Not even we. I tease picture frames, okay? So at the minute people's listening going, what's he on about?
That sounds terrible.
What's he on about? What's he on about a picture frame? I'm going to get to it, folks, okay? I'm going to get to it. So between thinking, I might be dropping out of this race and I might not be getting my picture frame, I actually felt a bit emotional. I'm not going to say I cried, but I came close. So I actually got quite sad. And now, Colin, I'll talk to you about the picture frame. Because when you entered this event, I said you were a muppet and you were crazy. And then remember, I found out there was soup. And I kid you not, Paul. The only reason I entered this ultramarathon is for soup. And you know that's true, isn't it? Well,
and what was the soup like?
No, it was fantastic. It was first class. It was the greatest soup I've ever had in all my life in both the aid stations.
My soup was outstanding.
It did not disappoint, but normal people call them. I missed that one, did I? It was fantastic. Normal people don't enter a 108 mile race just for soup. But I ain't normal. But the thing was, I said to you, Colin, I'm entering this race, but this is a one-off for me, okay? And I'm going to look at this as an adventure of a lifetime. And because of that, for the last few months, I've visualized something in my head, and it's this. It's a picture frame, okay, Colin? And in this picture frame is my idiot school. What are you laughing at, Colin? This is serious. Like, I'm nearly dead or something here, and I'm getting emotional, and I think I'm dropping out the race, and all I want's a picture frame, and you're laughing. Why are you laughing?
Because if anybody was to look at us editing this, I looked at the timeline, and I think this picture frame story started about 5 minutes ago. Andrew.
Well, Colin, it would be a bit shorter if you wouldn't stop interrupting me. Okay, so this is going to be 3 parts now, is it? Clearly, this podcast is going to run into 3 parts now. Back to picture frame. In this picture frame,
it is going to run to 3 parts, isn't it?
Yes, Colin. Right? Can I get back to my picture frame? It's very important. So I visualized me getting a picture frame, and in this picture frame, I'm just going to ignore this laughing, okay, now. In this picture frame is my Idiots Go Running top, because, Colin, we were so confident. We were so confident that we were going to finish this race. I said to you, Colin, we've only one Idiots Go running top each, and brand it up and all that caper. And I said, put it in your second drop bag, because I don't want to wear it at the start. I don't want to wear it in the middle. I want us wearing our Idiots Go Running branded top, going over the finish line. Okay, so in this picture frame, I'm going to have my top, and on the top it's going to have my number, and to the side column, to either left or right of it, it's going to be the belt buckle for finishing this race, and below it, it's going to be a picture of us at the start and a picture of us at the end. And this picture frame, one day, God willing, I said it's going to go in my office, and every day I'm going to look at it and I'm going to shake my head and go, you idiots. And one day our kids are still quite young, they maybe don't understand all this caper. I want my kids to come up and go, Daddy, tell us a story about you and Uncle Colin doing 108 miles. I'm going to go even further into distance. See, when we're really old, like, you know, and grey. Well, I'm greyer. I want my grandchildren to go, right there, Grand the good man, tell us about the story of the 108 mile. I go, me and your Grand Colin, we used to be young. We went running, and we had a podcast,
and we were American. or you've spent so much time with Matt Niggs that you've just ripped off his accent, Andrew. That's what it is.
Maybe. So long story short, I visualize this picture frame because it's if we were able to do this race, it would be quite the achievement, you know. And I wanted to put a picture. I actually got this idea from my boss. He did something similar. I thought I'm going to drop out of the race. I'm not going to get my picture frame. So that's the picture frame called story.
Holy moly. That was an amazing story, Andrew. Well, you've probably just killed half of our listeners, and when we look back at our stats, this bit will. Where everyone stops.
I think this is inspirational. So, Colin, I thought that, and then I thought what Dean Carnazes, friend of the show, Dean Carnazes said. He says you don't DNF at an aid station, and I thought to myself, I don't know what shape I'm going to be, but I'm going to get up. I'm going to say a quick prayer. I'm going to pray for this weird feeling to leave me. I'm going to pray for strength. I'm going to pray for endurance. And I got up, Colin, and I have to say the feeling was away. I felt very tired, but I was able to get up. I was able to get changed. I took some soup. I took some pasta. I took some porridge. And then, Colin, we got up and we left the aid station.
Yeah, I was never letting you DNF at an aid station. I was dragging you out of that aid station without you knowing, but you did it yourself.
I did it myself because I did, joking aside, I remember what Dean Carnazes said in our podcast, never DNF at an aid station. And I said, even, I might DNF a mile down the road, but I'm going to go off. I'm going to get out of here. And Colin, do you know what? Just to wrap up this section of the story, I was at a friend's house 2 nights ago after recording the podcast, actually. My friend Jeff, I was at Jeff's house. I was dropping his son home from something, and they invited me in for a quick chat, and his wife is a doctor. And if you're a doctor listening to this, you might already know what this funny feeling was, because Jeff's wife, she solved the problem for me, because you see, for the next 2 hours, Colin, I couldn't get this feeling, or I couldn't get this thought out of my head. What happened at that aid station? What made me go all woozy? What was that feeling I couldn't explain? She explained it to me. She nailed it straight away. She said, if you have a full bladder and you release the urine very, very quickly, it lowers your blood pressure dramatically. And she said when patients go into hospital and maybe they're old patients and they have a catheter, put a catheter into them to release the urine, but they only release it in parts, in stages, because if they don't, their blood pressure will dramatically fall. And Colin, she said, actually, if I didn't lie down when I did, well, I would have been one way or another.
You would have been dying.
I would have been lying down. And that brings me great comfort because, again, for a few hours, I couldn't explain what happened. And now I can. And that's a tip. That's a tip that I don't think Nick knows, or probably not many people know. If you have a full bladder,
lie down or to go and lie down.
Well, go to the toilet in bits or something.
I don't know. I don't know if you're thinking straight at that time, but we got out, Andrew. We got out of the aid station. And it was daylight. It was daylight.
It was not night. It was now daylight.
And we started moving down the road. And do you know what? You were moving, but you were tired. This obviously hadn't fully passed because we were moving down the road, moving into Dungiven, and
I was so tired, Colin. Like, I felt my body felt okay, but I just felt strong, just really tired, really tired.
But you kept on going. You kept on ticking over, and then it was actually probably good because it was nice, decent terrain. It was paths. It was solid road. It wasn't anything too technical as we left the aid station. Andrew, would you agree?
I would. And Colin, we've actually got some audio of the moment we left the aid station, so I'll play it now. So Andrew, Colin in the past, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Well, Andrew, unfortunately, is still here. He's still here. Still here. Andrew, do you want to tell us your story?
So, we've been feeling great. We really have been feeling great the whole way, and we're just out of the second aid station here in Dungiven. And I was feeling great. You were feeling great. I walk into the aid station, and then I felt ungreat.
Andrew had a bit of a...
I felt a bit dizzy, and
moment.
I thought, I need to lie down here. And Andrew did lie down. And now I feel great again.
Well, yep, I never doubted it for a second. Head down, 5 minutes. Do you know what? He gave me a chance to put my head down. And there's some cannon fodder in there. There's some shrapnel lying about the place.
I tell you what.
And they're pulling themselves together and they're getting up.
Like, my feet are great. My legs are great. I'm feeling good. Just something hit me in there, Colin. Something hit me.
And night is over, Andrew. Daytime has arrived. I've probably woken up half the street.
And on the road we were again, and actually we left with people just in front of us and just behind us, and we kind of all caught up again and went on a bit of a dander because there was no running just at this stage. It was very early in the morning, maybe 5:15, maybe 5, something like that, maybe, Colin.
I think it was just at this stage we had to get us moving again and get all the stuff going again. And it was paths, and then we turned off the path, and then we went onto some sort of grassy bank, wasn't it really?
Something like that, yep. And it continued on for a wee while, and as people passed us, they started to explain this crazy hill, Andrew, didn't they? Oh, because we had said here that was a nightmare hill the night before, or a few hours ago, wasn't it? And they were like, oh, it was bad, but it's not the worst one. We were like, where's the worst one? And they said the worst one is nearly at the finish line, maybe, 15 miles or something, maybe before the finish line, which in a race like this is quite near. And they said it just goes on forever, and every turn it just goes on, and you think you're getting to the top, but you're not. It just goes on and on and on and on and on, and you never think you're going to get to the top. And at this stage, we were maybe another, I don't know, would it be like another 10 hours of the event ahead of us? And when you're hearing that kind of stuff, and when you're feeling so tired, you're kind of going, well, this is going to be fun. Hate to be future Andrew and Colin when I
think the aid station, you leave the aid station, you've got the guts of 40 miles left in you, Andrew. So you're not leaving the aid station, and it's a easy road home.
Oh, you're not in the home stretch. There's still plenty to go.
40 miles, Andrew. 40 miles left, and they're telling us about this hill. And I got a piece of advice. I think it was Gordon said, make sure you get a good feed. Is it in Money Nina? Is it, Andrew? Make sure
No idea, Colin.
There's
no
an aid
idea,
station,
but
and
there's like a very small aid station. There's like a water stop, they called it, but it is like a mini aid station.
yeah, and it was class, and it had loads of different bits of food and loads of this, and it was class.
So before we get that aid station, Colin, we kind of walk through a forest, don't we? Or half run through a forest. It's probably more walk than run, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, we kind of fell in with Ross and Jake, but two young fellas, and they were very young. And on this type of trail, Andrew, on ultramarathons, you don't really meet a lot of young people.
No, you don't call them. They're mostly in their late 30s upwards. And these two guys are 21. And they're unbelievable, Colin, so they are.
They were class. And do you know what? It was especially Jake, because we came across Jake early in the event, and, you know, he was getting it tough. And every time I seen him, he seemed to be getting it tough, but he kept on pulling through and pulling through. I think the first time I seen him, I thought, flip, it's a long way, Andrew. It's a long way. I think it was before the aid station where we seen them, and there's a long way to go. And if you're getting it hard at that stage, you know, it's tough. But anyway, we started walking with them and talking with them.
And you know what, Colin? There's so many names of people we could talk about. So if there's people who went on this event and we haven't mentioned you because there's so many people, apologies. But and we went through this forest, Colin. We got out the other end of it on the main road. A main road. You felt like you're in civilization, Colin. It was great.
Sorry, I think we were having so much chat with Jake and Ross that it nearly, we weren't keeping our pace up, were we, Andrew? We were having a good chat, and it was good, and time was disappearing on us.
And time was disappearing then, Colin, I just decided to have a bit of banter because we weren't alone at this stretch of the road. There was, when this event was going on, there was also the Northern Ireland 100 Mini, which started at Dungiven, which is that second aid station, and then it went to the finish line, and they started at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And we met two girls who were on their holidays from Canada, and as you do, decide to sign up to a 37 or 39 ultramarathon.
Yeah.
And it was here. We were chatting to them with the other two guys, and I don't know how I don't know how this came up, Colin.
I think what happened was she was like, "Hey, you're actually being passed by girls," or something like that, just as a wee jokey comment, nothing
That's
serious, nothing sinister. And Andrew's like, girls are better than me at anything anyway.
No, I just said, well, that's not impressive. Girls beat me at stuff all the time. Tell me something new.
And then I had to open my mouth and chirp in and give Andrew an opening to a story. And I says, well, they're not better at you singing, Andrew, are they?
Here's me. Heck no. I almost made it on Britain's Got Talent.
And they turned around and they were like, can you sing for us, Andrew? And I think you ended up going, no, I'm not really much. And then you tried to do a bit of a beatbox, and then they kind of started.
Well, first of all, just so you don't think I'm lying, the reason I didn't make it on to Britain's Got Talent is because I didn't put in the application form. And the reason I didn't put that in the application form is because I didn't have one. And the reason because I didn't have one is because I can't sing. So, you know, I was a bit tired and I had nothing to do. So I thought this might take up a few minutes. And they said, could you sing? And I said, no, I've been running all day. My throat's a bit tired. And they said, well, what kind of music are you into? And the first thing that popped in my head was hip hop. So I just said the words hip hop.
So Andrew goes, hip hop. And so the story goes on where he actually said, so I can listen to some of your stuff on Spotify. And Andrew was like, well, yeah, but I think you said I go by A Dizzle.
My stage name is A Dizzle. And I've only got one album on Spotify because the other one was moved due to copyright reasons. And a hook, line, and a sinker. And this kept me well entertained, I have to say, for this short space of time.
So we came out, so we'll leave that one there. I had to explain that, yeah, look, this is Northern Irish banter. This is our crack. This is not serious. If we're ever come across as rude, please don't take it personally. I had to put
that said, it's all good fun and banter, Colin, but I don't ever remember setting the record straight that I was not a hip hop artist called A Dizzle on Spotify. You know what I mean?
A Dizzle. So if anyone's listening to this show, if they are listening, he is not on Spotify. He is not A Dizzle. He is Andrew Goodman with a nice frame for his wall.
Not yet, Colin, but that frame's coming. So, Colin, we got to this aid station, or this mini aid station. We quickly got our waters refilled. I think you got a packet of crisps, and you said these are really nice. And then I took a packet of crisps.
Oh, they were
and
lovely.
then the guy said, what did the guy say to us?
The guy or the girl turned around and they kind of go, guys, you might need to keep moving, and stop hanging about as much, because our trackers had kind of...
They predicted that we were going to get in between 34 hours and 35 hours, which would be okay, but the event ended, the cutoff time ended at 34 hours. So as soon as they said that, we thought we need to make tracks here. And Colin, I think this is a good point actually to stop this podcast, because we really thought this would be a 2-parter, and clearly it's going to be a 3-parter, and we're leaving it on a cliffhanger. Will they make it? Well, you will know the answers.
Will Andrew get his frame?
Will Andrew get his frame? Will he get his frame? All these questions and more we'll find out in part 3. My name's Andrew.
And my name's C. Dizzle.
And we'll see you, you muppet. We'll see you next time
on Idiots
Go
Running.
Granda Goodman, tell me about the 108-mile race you faced. Tell me about that cold night in the bog where stars were just a trace. Tell me about the longest squee you ever did endure. Tell me about the time you felt so weak and lay down, cold and unsure. Granda Goodman, share the tale of that grueling, endless stride of trudging through the muck and mire with Granda Colin by your side. Will you beat the cutoff time and claim that grand prize? Will you get that picture frame that gleams in your eyes?
Idiots Go Running will return in our 108-mile Ultramarathon, Part 3.